Okay, so for Burn Bio Trust, some of the nationwide programs we run are that you may have heard of Heritage Keepers, Farming for Nature, and then the Hare's Corner Project. And we have other local projects we would run, Calf and the Cuckoo. We do events such as the Wintridge Weekend, which you can see in this photo, Burn and Bloom. So that's a bit about the organization that is kind of the umbrella over the Hare's Corner Project and who essentially would be paying you. So the Hare's Corner project, while you are just here for the Plan for Nature advisor position, we do have other actions. So we offer landowners, if you're a farmer, school, community group, private, small holding, any kind of anyone who can apply, and they can apply for one or all five actions. So they can apply for wildlife pond, native mini woodland, mini orchards, wildlife hedges, and a plan for nature. Um, the wildlife pond is a bit more involved, but they get about 50 trees, bare root trees for the woodlands and hedges, and about five apple trees. And then we'll be talking mostly about the Hare's Corner, or the Plan for Nature project. And the Hare's Corner does come from an old farming expression. It's the awkward bit of land that the farmers would have let go wild. So we kind of stole that phrase because it is a rewilding initiative. So the role of the Plan for Nature advisor position, the reason you're here, it's to provide landowners advice. You'd walk the land with them. We we pay out 600 per site visit and report, and that includes time, mileage, VAT, and your responsibilities. We provide you with the participant list, and your job is to contact them, schedule the site visit, carry out the site visit, and then write the report. It sounds very simple, but every site is different, and yeah, all the advice will be different for those sites. So once we're done today, I'll be sending out some more information, and we'll have the timeline is that we'll be doing training in probably April, and we'll have four different training sessions throughout the country. Just admit here. So I might as well just pop into the chat real quick if I can. The five counties we will be in. Well, I can't do it now. I'll just say it and then I'll put it into the chat. We are in Donegal, Sligo, Louth, Monaghan, Offaly, Carlow, Kilkenny, Wexford, Limerick, and Kerry. So those are the 10 counties we'll be in 2026. And so we'll kind of have the training sessions happen, maybe North Leitrim. We want to have it at a location where we already have a plan for nature report created for. So North Leitrim, North Meath, maybe somewhere in Carlow, West Limerick, will be the training day, in-person training day for the plan for nature. Um, so we will give you your participant list once after the training day. Sorry, I'm all about my daughter had a fever last night, and I think we have a bit of a cold going on. So sorry for the discombobulation here. But we will give you your participant list, and the site visits will take place no sooner than the beginning of May, just because we want things to be up in bloom and for you to be able to see what's there on the site. So May, June, July, you'll be carrying out the site visits. There are some cases where, say, a teacher goes on break and isn't back, and so they won't be back till August at the school site. So maybe some things need to happen in August. But for the most part, May, June, July will be when you're carrying out the site visits and writing up the reports. And just keep us updated if you can't reach anyone. Hours or the visits take about two hours, could be more if it's bigger site. Um, and we will provide you with guidelines so that will tell you what to check before, during, and after. So before, you just double check that it's not an SAC, SPA, there's no national monuments on. Um, we'll plug in their the folio number, not the folio number, but we'll know what their land boundary is before you go. So the report, ideally, it's submitted very quickly after the site visit. We don't want people to be waiting months and months for this. So within 4 weeks, we do ask that the first two reports come directly to us first, before you'd send them to the participants. So by mid-June, the first two reports, and Sharon Parr, who is part of our Plan for Nature training, will help us edit and send out any edits to yourselves. Once we give you the go-ahead after those first two, you're free to send them directly to the participants while copying us in, so we have records in the office of all the reports. Um, so yeah, I think I've covered the timeline. We'll hand you out to participants, and we'll talk about everything from as far as what your availability is. We probably won't give any new advisors more than 5 to begin with, just to make sure um, everything is suitable. And then location will play into it definitely. So we'll have to take into account the number of advisors who are applying, where they're located, what their skills are, and how many sites we can give everybody. But hopefully, we have enough funding to continue to approve participants as we go through, especially if you get your reports in and we think you're a strong advisor. Um, so that's that. I'm just going to share or stop sharing so I can bring up a couple other things. I have examples of the Plan for Nature template, and then I'll also show you an example of a plan here. So we will give you template, and then I also have Sharon had put together some slides for training, and I'll just very quickly scroll through that just to give you an idea, because this is just an overview today to give you an idea of what the project's about, the timeline, payment, and to see if it's something you'd be interested in. So I'm just gonna share my entire screen so I can keep sliding through. So the first of all, here is the example report of this is a example of a garden. We also have a farm and a school, but I'm just going to show you the garden. So we'll give you a template in a Word doc form. It'll also work with Pages, or if you're using Google Drive, whatever Google uses, you'll be able to use the template across whatever. If you don't have Microsoft Office, it will be compatible with others. So name and address, the date you conducted the site visit, and a summary and key actions. So we say normally to make about around 10 recommendations. This map can be found. This is obviously a drone image, which is great, but we'll give you a list of websites you can go to: Google Earth, Maps Direct. There's lots of different websites for finding top-down aerial shots of your site. But out of the recommendations, the 12 recommendations, we'll want you to focus on a handful, maybe 3 to 5 key actions. So summary and key actions, map, legend, and then habitat, benefits or threats, and any tips. So the threats could be, if you have rhododendron threats, it's an invasive species, and tips, here's how to remove it. So it's, these Plan for Nature reports are it's recommendations for ways to increase biodiversity, and that could be focusing on something great that they already have, or removing something that's not so great. So I'll just scroll through this real quick. The Plan for Nature, it just helps people manage their land better for biodiversity, like I was just saying. And we really want to focus on the landowner themselves. What are they able to do? So it has to be very practical. How are they going to be able to maintain this? Do their kids play soccer? You don't want to completely get rid of the monoculture grass if it's being used. So we want to come in and ask questions. How do they use it? What are they able to do? Maybe what tools they have. You're not going to have them strim a whole field if they don't own a strimmer, but it could be something for the future, plan for them. So this is a plan. It could take them many years to get through everything. And we want it to be in layman's terms, very understandable, um, not too much information, not too little information. So you'd make contact with them. We suggest sending a group email and just kind of, blind carbon copy everyone so they can't see each other's emails, and ask for availability, ask them to provide information. And then here's the pre-visit prep, finding the maps, making sure they don't have those monuments, like I said. During the site visit as well, are you going to want to voice record, take notes, bring a camera, figure out what you need to bring with you during the site visit to make sure you'll remember then what to write up in the report. Um, you talked about this. What are they interested in? What are their visions, aims? What are their likes and dislikes? If they're really into birds, focus on making recommendations on how to help the songbirds or the birds of prey in their area, whatever it may be. Um, Walking the site, exploring options. Here are some of the top, most common topics. So, of the Plan for Nature reports in the past. So, grassland, woodland, deadwood, orchards, hedges. So, these are all different types of topics. And we don't expect you all to be experts in, say, grazing or orchards, how to maintain a solitary bee nest. But we'll give you all of that information, and hopefully you have a good breadth of knowledge with all of this. We're hoping. Um, a lot of times it's telling them what not to do. They want to create a wildflower meadow and throw seed bombs, but we discourage that, and you know, tell them to change their mowing regime, see what's there. So we'll give you all the training on the main areas that we want to focus on. Wildflower meadows is a big one. Some green hay transfer. And this, you'll all be going through this more thoroughly in the training, because we'll do online training and then we'll do on-site visit training as well. So, and then some invasive species we'll be talking about, just ways that we would recommend getting rid of. I was just talking to Sharon about the cherry laurel the other day. There's many methods you could use. Some are more harsh than the others, some are more labor intensive than others. So there's going to be a lot to consider when writing these reports. Um, but we will cover that all in the training. I'm just going to stop sharing right now and come back here. Um, so does anyone, I know I rushed through that, but if you have any questions on the process or anything, either raise your hand or just unmute yourselves and ask away. I'm just going to write the counties in the chat box here. So someone did ask, will I be guaranteed at least one site if I go through and do all this? And right now, it's hard to say because we don't know where everyone's located, or we don't know how much interest has come in yet. For the Plan for Nature advisors, the pond advisors, someone who wants to do both, and the funding. So we have the local biodiversity action funding of at least 35 grand in each county. And we're trying to match that at Burn Bio with some private funding. So that should allow us, maybe around 30 Plan for Nature reports. So that would be, say, 6 advisors if everyone's getting 5, but it could be 7, 8, 9 advisors if we give everyone 4 or 3 sites. And then if we have more funding, you'd be approved. Maybe you'd be given 5 at first, but then you'd given another 5 once those 5 come in and look good. So that's kind of a bit up in the air. RMP designation. I'm not sure. Was that on her training slides? Um, Perhaps Verl, with the national monuments, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it just making sure that when we're making recommendations, we're not causing destruction to any habitats. If it's an SAP, SCA, yeah, PA, SAC, or if it has national monuments, we don't tell them to go digging things up. Caroline, your hand. I see your hand up there. Is or was that maybe a mistake?
Sorry, I couldn't unmute myself. I was just curious, what is the kind of average size of land that people are coming forward with? Is it like the acre, half acre, or is it bigger?
Half acre would be the minimum size, kind of,
Okay.
for small gardens. We have gone a little smaller. Um, if we've been into Galway City and we've been on small gardens. Sorry, Jane, I'm just gonna mute some people who I can hear there. I am trying to find the grid view here so I can go ahead and mute anyone. Okay. Um, So yeah, it could be, we've done sites as well where it's 40 acres, but we're not going to walk it'll say, okay, these are obviously where your horses are or the
Yeah.
cattle, and that's a scrubby patch. This is a border hedgerow. This is where you want a pond to go or an orchard, or you want to turn
Yeah.
into more. So you'd focus on certain areas. I think we have also had Jane, here, I'm just going to meet you. Um, we've also had tidy towns. We had one in
Okay.
Letterfrack or Clifton area
Hmm.
where they wanted the advisor to go to a couple different locations. Um, but not, a massive drive away, but it would be um, a bit more work with those, I suppose. But they'd average out. And
Yeah.
we'll ask you guys what your comfortability comfortability is with if you're a farmer yourself, if you'd be more comfortable visiting farms, if you have more experience with the grazing, um, those areas, or maybe you're a teacher and you'd want to visit more schools. So we try to give you those sites, but we'll have a map and we'll ask for your address. We'll have your address. We'll create a little map of pins for the participants and the advisors and try to give you sites that are close to where you're located, but also suit them to what your strengths may be. So if we know their farm sites or small holdings, schools, community groups, we'll find that out before we give out the participant list.
Yeah, no, I'm from a farming background, so I always kind of think a half acre is just so small, but for some people it's not. And I know you can do loads with a half an acre, but I suppose when you come from a bigger background, yeah, it can be a little bit of a land, a little bit too small. But yeah,
Yeah, we
thank you.
try to give you some farm sites then, if that's what you'd be more comfortable with. If you want, it's all what you're
I
willing
could
to.
eat those words. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks, Caroline. Can you recommend a camera and drone spec? I don't. My husband has a drone, but I think it's more of a fun one. Sharon will be able to go over that in the training because she uses a drone, and I know all the drones are all different with. Do you want to do sweeping or is it just still shots? I wouldn't know about the drones. They can be, from 700 to 1500 upwards. So that would be a big investment. Great. Okay. Thanks, Jane. Linda, do you have a question?
Yeah, hi. Just wondering what sort of aftercare, once they receive the report, they might have queries. So how long does that go on for?
Yeah, we'd say the calendar year. So that, we wouldn't, you'll be carrying out the site visits in the summer. Um, the autumn, if they have something like, oh, I just thought of this, it wasn't in the report or the details, and they'd ask you. But once it gets into the next calendar year,
Okay,
um, feel free to forward them to the office. Um, if you're happy to answer it, if it's a quick question, that'd be
brilliant.
fine.
Yeah,
But we will have a new round of applications then opening, and the game plan is to be in every county at least 2 years.
fantastic.
So
Yeah.
that's what we've done so far.
Cool.
Um, we bring our own nets and eye lenses. I'm not sure I know what you mean, Verl. What,
Oh, hang on, wait, I can't see.
like magnifying glasses if you want to see
Yeah.
what's, yeah, and so that's with starting in at the earliest in May, the hope is that things are more more abundant and you won't need to go, very fine with just what the leaf is when it's super close to the ground. So if things are in bloom, blossom, they're coming up, flowering, hopefully you wouldn't need that. But nets, yeah, I mean, if you just want to it's not so in depth. If you happen to spot some birds, some of our advisors are used to doing a species list and others don't mention it at all. They wouldn't say, here's what birds I saw on site visit, or here's what insects we saw, here's what bird calls I was listening to. It's whatever the participant is interested in. So if they aren't really interested in how many birds you heard on the day or what species, don't feel like you have to include every little detail. If it's pertinent to what action, a recommendation you're making for, if you saw a sparrowhawk and you want to talk about that with the um, garden birds, or, I don't know, every site is so different. Um, yeah, and if you are on a farm and you see, some some poison, maybe you want to talk about barn owls and other ways to deter rodents. But yeah, like I said, every site's different. We'll talk about um, the recommendations and the most common ones and the best ways to go forward with all the tips and tricks. Linda, do you have another?
I assume that you can put links. Do you have
Yes.
recommended links and things that you would add in? Say it was like wildflower, how to do a wildflower meadow. There might be a really good, useful YouTube video or something. I assume you can put
Yeah.
links in.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely. We encourage links if it's something because we don't want a report to go on for 46 pages. So we've had it before, we started out with 4 pages. That was a bit too tight.
Yeah.
And some people, then will go just too far beyond, and people don't want to read that much. So yes, by all means, include links, but don't just have every tip. We don't want it
Linked.
to be so link heavy, but
Yeah.
definitely lean on that for sure. Um, so when after today's session, if you feel like this is a project you want to be a part of, the compensation is to your liking and the timeline works and all that, just shoot me an email, lee@burrenbo.com, to say that you're in. If you've sent on your CV already, so the people who are here have either submitted their CVs or have been recommended by a biodiversity officer. We may not have your CV. If I do have it, great. If you know that your address is not included on that CV, please send that to me. And just a quick email to say that you're in, maybe what your strengths are, if you'd prefer farm or schools, small holdings, if you have any preference. And then I will take that and I'll be sending everyone out information on more of the terms and conditions and guidelines and all of that, and more links. But then we have the tree handout days happening in January, February, the first weekend in March. So while I'll be sending some information, I won't be doing the advisor training until March and April. We'll be focusing more on that. But I'll definitely send out the information, and we'll see where we're at, where we are at with numbers. Because really, you asked if everyone's already automatically on the list. Once we have the funding squared away, we know the applications will open from January 1st to the 18th, so we'll know what kind of uptake we've received from every county. And so once, come February, we'll have a much greater understanding of where we're at with what we can give people. And if, we can give everyone at least one site if you'd be happy with one site, or if not, maybe we'd want to just keep your information on record for the following year. If you want to attend training. Yeah, we do offer, I think we gave everyone 80 euros last year as part of, they added it to the invoice when they sent on, they put in the training day travel expenses. But we can revisit that. Una, do you have a question?
Yeah, I was just on the beginning you mentioned the other actions like the forest or the orchard or something like that. Could somebody have applied, say, for trees for a mini orchard, heritage orchard, or a mini woodland or whatever as part along with their plan for nature, and would that kind of be included in part of it then as the plan?
Yeah, and yeah, that's a very good question. They can apply for all 5 actions. And for the most part, the 2 most complicated actions are the wildlife pond and the plan for nature. They're the most costly for us, and they're the most involved. So we usually receive about 4.5 times the requests than we can approve. So with those 2 being the most popular and sought after, if we approve you for one, we are most likely not going to approve you for the other in those 2. But then when it comes to the woodland, hedgerow, orchard, it's not as, the apple trees are obviously more expensive than bare roots. But it depends on the per county basis. And in the past as well, from 2021 to now, we have had the applications open in the spring and approved the pond plan for nature. We've carried out site visits, reports, and then in the winter, when the roots go dormant, we've given out the trees. So they have to wait almost a full calendar year to get their trees. This year, we're front loading, we're switching everything around, we're opening the applications in January, and we're handing out the trees weeks later. So in the past, the advisors would have been able to recommend, okay, if you want a wildlife pond, take the topsoil, move it over there for your orchard. That's going to be great. You would have been able to make recommendations for if they are going to be approved for the woodland orchard, help them figure out where they're going to plant trees, because we can't carry out site visits for all the actions. So they don't get site visits for the woodland, hedgerow, orchard. What we do offer is webinars, training, on the day. We'll help them, links, resources as much as we can, try to discourage them from planting in species-rich habitat, all of these things. But so it will be a bit different this year because they're getting the trees first. But I suppose that, there's pros and cons. You'll be able to see where they planted them. And because they're so young, you can say, well, actually, that's not a great spot. Or, you've planted.
You might be able to move them.
Yeah, exactly. And, apple trees don't like to get their feet wet. We can see that very wet ground. So maybe it actually is a good thing that they'll have received them, and then you can give them advice.
So they could have received some trees before we come and do a site visit, and have planted them. Yeah, perfect. Yeah. The other thing, just on you were recording, will the recordings be available then
Certainly, yeah, I can send out
Can you
links.
send them on? Yeah. Right. Thanks.
Yeah,
Um,
there'll be quite a bit to send on, so I don't want to inundate you, but we're also moving to a new platform, so there may be a case where instead of me emailing everything separately, it's available on the platform where you'll be able to log in and just see, click through terms and conditions, guidelines, training slides, and all of that. Um, Caroline, you have another question?
Sorry, again. I'm just curious. You mentioned the schools. So does that work in the same format then that you just approach the school and you do a site visit and you make your recommendations? Or do you
Yeah.
try to get the kids involved in different parts of it?
So you're usually just meeting with the teacher or principal or whoever had applied.
Yeah.
Um, and the recommendations can certainly get the students involved. So
Yeah.
if you have, a sensory garden or raised garden beds or something where they can be part of it. Um,
Yeah, well, even picking berries and berry bushes and stuff like that, you'd imagine you could incorporate, or even using willow for, little things that they could then use for projects might work.
yeah, and links and, I mean, the teachers would have better access to, I suppose, the resources for, critter investigation or pond
Yeah.
dipping or all of those things, but that can certainly be part of your recommendation to visit site XYZ to find out more about sensory gardens. We, with when we go to visit small gardens and we see they have three-leaved garlic or Montbretia or something that may not be native, but they really love it. They love the color, they love the smell, or whatever it may be. We're not going to be, dictators that say you must remove anything that's non-native. We'll just inform them that's not native. Here's how it may spread, and here's how to keep it under
Yeah.
control. But when we're in the school setting too, we do, there are some accommodations we make for, say, when you're setting up a pond, we'll like to advise to let it populate naturally. But in the school setting, you want there to be plants and for kids to be able to learn more quickly and not just let it happen over the years. So in certain settings, I'm just thinking of, flowers for pollinator gardens or for sensory gardens, lots of different colors and textures.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Thank
accommodations
you.
can be made, but for the most part, we stick to native, native only, and
Yeah.
definitely for wildlife plants. But just yeah, obviously herb gardens, rosemary isn't native, but it's a lovely, lovely herb plant. So yeah, we'll cover lots in the training, and I'll either invite you to um, sign into the platform, and it's not something where you need to create an account, but you'll be able to go in and
They can see me.
you'll be able to go in and yeah, read all the documents, visit all the links, and see the resources and see all the example plans, um, and yeah, go from there. So if no one has any other or were there, oh, sorry, I've scrolled up. Do participants say what they're interested in when the application? So we do have a question for the Plan for Nature. Do you want a Plan for Nature site visit? Yes. How we ask them the size of their land. So is it smaller than a half acre? Because in the past too, we'd gone into Galway City, so we had to have that urban setting situation. Um, between 1 and 5, 5 to 20, bigger than 20. We'll ask them the size and then we'll ask them their motivations for applying. So usually with that question, you'll be able to see, I'm really into birds, or this used to be all farmed, heavily farmed, and I'm trying to let it go natural again. Um, yeah, they would give us a bit of an inkling. But then when you reach out to schedule the site visit, you can also ask those questions, or you can ask them on the day and have that worked into your plan. But if you want to ask them in advance to give yourselves just more of a heads up that they're really into birds or apple trees or um, yeah, gardening, vegetable gardens, whatever it may be. You'll have the more information, I suppose, the better leading up to it. Um, yeah, so before the site visit. And the air code they give might not be where the land is. So all of these things, you have to find out. Um, great. So
Sorry.
yes, yes, Linda.
Hiya. You mentioned like monuments and sites of special interest. So is that identified in the application form, or
Yeah, we
do
asked
we
them.
would we not visit those sites, or is this a special way of looking at those? Because obviously planning is,
Yeah, we
yeah,
don't usually approve or, you know, if somebody's applying, we say you cannot apply if your land is in an SAC, if it's SPA, just because we don't want to do the wrong thing.
yeah,
We don't want to mess things up. So if they're kind of automatically disqualified. I say kind of because their site could be here and then the SPA could border and it could just be, a hen harrier, Merlin area where the rules and regulations, whatever you're doing to that site wouldn't have any implications, negative or otherwise, for the
yeah,
SPA. But yeah, if their specific site is not an SPA, SAC, or has a national monument, and we give them the links, but it's just another cross check just to make sure, because a lot of
okay,
people, yes, I don't have species rich. Yes, I'm not in an SAC, and they could be, and they just have never really known.
okay,
We just ask you to do those checks before, just as a a double check against um, the
okay,
application.
yeah, fine,
The same as well for farmers who are in the acres program. We do not allow them to be part of this project, just because we don't want to double fund actions. So it's been one of those things where it's like, oh, well, I'm not getting funding for a pond, but I'm getting funding for that. It's just really hard to keep track of everything. So we just say, if you're in acres, you're getting funded through acres, don't apply to be a Hare's Corner participant. But that could slip through the cracks as well.
okay,
Somebody owns land and they're leasing it, and that person happens to be on acres. There's everything you can imagine has happened. So the training, the in-person training will be likely in the month of April, maybe the end of March, but in April we'll have 4 different trainings. And it'll be Northwest, um, Northeast, South, we'll try to have 4 different trainings so everyone in the country doesn't have to travel very far. So we'll send those out to you as soon as we have them, um, probably in February sometime. So yeah, well, I'm glad to see so many of you on board, and I think some of you have joined in again, so I hope you didn't, hope you weren't bored with all the repetitive information. But yeah, I'm very happy. This has been one of our pinch points in the past is the lack of advisors. So, and we had to give out more trees and orchards to use up funding because we just didn't have the capacity. But the Plan for Nature report, or the Plan for Nature action, is head and shoulders the most popular of all 5 actions. That's the one most people apply for. So we do see that mostly they just want advice. They don't want to do the wrong thing, and they just want help and steering in the right direction. So it's really, a lot of the advisors have so much fun carrying out these site visits. A lot of people are fed coffee and tea, even offered lunch, sometimes. But it's really great to go on these site visits, and just the passion and enthusiasm for wanting to do better on their land, make it more friendly to the critters around them. So it's really great. So thanks for joining in today and taking part. And if you do have any questions that you think of, just shoot me an email, lee@burnbo.com. And but do shoot me an email if you are interested, if you haven't already, that you're good to go. And any preferences or your address if you haven't already. And I'll send out more information in the coming weeks. I can't promise it's going to come out before Christmas, but I'll try. I'll try my best. So thanks again very much and have a great day.
Thank you.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. Hope your daughter feels better.
Thank you. Thanks.
Yes, I hope she feels better too, and that you don't all have this horrible flu.
I've heard about that. I'm like, oh, I hope it's just a cold.
Well, at least it'll be over before Christmas.
Yeah, there you go. Thanks.
Thank you, Lee.
All right. Bye now.
Bye.